We're joined now by the Democratic governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. Good to have you here in person.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
So, Governor, 1 in 8 Americans use food stamps in Maryland. You have about 700,000 people, as I understand it, who rely on this for food aid. Since the Supreme Court put that stay in place on Friday, do you know whether that money will actually be available to residents in your state to buy food?
We don't know, and that's why we're not waiting. It is why, just in the past few days, I have authorized over $10 million that's going towards heating assistance for people in the state of Maryland. Over $10 million has gone to our Maryland food banks, that we have made public transportation free for all of our federal workers because they, in many cases, are going to work and not being paid. Mm-hmm. And I have also authorized $62 million to go towards SNAP to make sure that SNAP is not going to be interrupted for the people of Maryland for as long as we can, despite the fact that we are waiting for the President of the United States to finally do his job. We are watching the president who is literally breaking the law so people can starve. But we're not going to sit there and tolerate it in our state.
Well, you just heard Director Hassett say that they are trying to follow the law, which is why they went to the courts. The USDA did say they were going to work towards implementing full payments, and then there was this Supreme Court stay put in place. So do you have clarity on when money might be coming through at all? Like, what's the federal government telling you?
There is no clarity at all. In the past 6 days, we've received 4 different measures of guidance from the USDA and from the Trump administration about how to handle it, where initially it was said, well, listen, we want the states to help to support. And despite the fact that this program was built as a partnership between the federal government and the states, where the federal government were really helping to underwrite these costs for people. And then once we decided to step up and say we are going to make sure that our people are going to be okay.
You were fronting the money.
That we were going to front the money. Okay. We've now received guidance saying the states are going to be punished for fronting the money. There is a chaos, and it is an intentional chaos that we are seeing from this administration, and where they have money for everything. They got money to fight wars. They got money for ballrooms. They got money for everything. But when it comes to supporting the American people, that's now when they are crying, well, we're broke, and that's not what the law requires us to do.
As you know, the White House says those sponsorships for the ballroom are separate from government money. But yeah. On the issue, though, of the shutdown itself, on Friday, we did see the Democratic leader Schumer offer to end it if Republicans agree to a 1-year extension of the Obamacare health care subsidies. Republicans said that's a non-starter. This is going to make this a big issue for the midterms. But would you tell the Democrats on Capitol Hill to dig in, that the pain that the people who are living in your state is somehow going to be worth it in the end for an extension of a tax credit?
There is no pain that is worth it. Our people are hurting, and they're hurting because of these games that we continue to see from Washington, D.C.
But would you tell Democrats just take the vote, open the government, then keep negotiating health care?
I want the government reopened now. There is no state that is dealing with more of an impact from this than the state of Maryland. We have over 260,000 federal workers within our state, that even before the shutdown, Donald Trump had fired over 15,000 Maryland workers, federal workers, more than any other state in this country. But I also know that saying that a prerequisite for having the federal government open shouldn't be kicking up premiums by 90%, by kicking people off of health care. Like there's a barbaric nature to this ask and this request, particularly when we're watching how the Trump administration, they have the White House, the House, and the Senate. They can get this deal done by just simply making a phone call, but they're allowing this pain to exist.
But Democrats also have a promise from the Republican leader in the Senate that he'll talk about health care if they reopen the government. Why isn't that good enough? Would you tell your members of the Democratic Party to relieve the pain in the immediate term from your state?
I would tell them that we need to ensure that reopening the government does not mean kicking my people off of health care. Mm-hmm. That when we're spending time right now over in Western Maryland, in Appalachia, and I'm proud to serve as the co-chair of the Appalachian Regional Commission, where we're serving Appalachia all throughout, not just Maryland, but throughout West Virginia, throughout Tennessee and Pennsylvania. And when we're speaking to our folks out there who are already watching their premiums jump, who are already watching everything become more expensive because of these policies, I don't think that anybody, whether in Western Maryland or any part of my state, would say, yes, it's okay if you just watch my health care go away.
Well, health care prices are going up even in the private market for a lot of different reasons. But let me ask you about what's happening in Maryland. This past Tuesday out in California, we saw this Proposition 50. 64% of California voters came out in support of what Gavin Newsom put out there with redistricting. This would allow him to charge ahead with plans to potentially gain an additional 5 Democratic congressional seats. This is gerrymandering. You are looking at midterm redistricting in your state as well. Of 8 districts, you only have 1 Republican. Do you really think Maryland is drawn in an unfair way right now?
I think that the reason that I ordered the Governor's Redistricting Advisory Commission is because I want to make sure that we can have a bipartisan group being able to look at the maps in the state of Maryland. This is something that happens every single...
You don't think these maps are fair now?
This is something that happens every single decade. And if other states are going to have this process and go through this journey of identifying whether or not they have fair maps in a mid-decade cycle, then so should Maryland. I'm just not sure why we should be playing by a different set of rules than Texas or than Florida or than Ohio.
Because
or all
you
these
say
other
those
places.
states are being unfair. So why adopt unfair policies in your state?
This is just simply about making sure that we can have fair and representative maps and we can go through our process. It's the reason that I put together this commission where my job is not to draw the maps. That what we've just simply said is I want this bipartisan commission to be able to actually speak with the people and to be able to go through their process and just simply say that if other states are going to go through this process, that we're not just going to sit on our hands because Donald Trump tells us to. That's not the way this process is going to work.
Your state Senate president, Democrat Bill Ferguson, says this could backfire. He wrote, "I believe mid-cycle redistricting twists rules for potential short-term advantage while undermining trust in institutions and ultimately democracy. It's too risky and jeopardizes your state's ability to fight against the radical Trump administration." How do you make sure it doesn't backfire? Do you accept a map that gives you more Republican districts? You're not going to do that.
I think fighting for democracy is never risky. I think that's our job as leaders and elected officials.
So you're not committing to going with the outcome of what this commission provides to you?
No, I think the commission, what I want is for the commission to do their work and the commission to do their job. My job is not to draw the maps. And frankly, it's the state legislature's job to decide to vote on it. That is not my responsibility. My job is to make sure that I'm protecting the democratic process. And the Senate President and I, we agree on the crisis that Donald Trump has put us in. He agrees on the fact that we have watched an administration that's using the Constitution like it's a suggestion box. But what I'm simply, and where we differ, is the urgency that this moment requires, the fight that this moment requires, and I personally am someone who is not going to allow Donald Trump to determine whether or not Maryland follows this idea of saying, are we going to do everything we can to make sure we're preserving our democracy?
Governor Moore, thank you for your time
Thank you so
morning.
much.